Today, I will review a standard contract from a popular manufacturer in the supplement business. It's a one-pager, so not too bad, and I want to highlight the big things that have come up over and over again in my 17-year career. Some of these topics I realize might not pertain to you, but I strongly encourage you to watch the whole video because you will be armed with information that is specific to this industry, and you'll learn how these suppliers actually write these contracts in their favor. And it's on you to watch out for yourself through the right contracts and through other forms of protection, which I'll touch on at the end of the video. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Brian and it's great to meet you. I've been in the supplement and food space for over 17 years, specializing in quality assurance and regulatory affairs. I've been helping companies, large and small, through it all, and I'm here to help you do the same, to help you start your business the right way and navigate the FDA, FTC, and other requirements. So, with that said, let's get to the contract right now. Now, you'll notice that I actually redacted the manufacturer's name here, and I can assure you that this is a fairly well-known manufacturer that's located in the USA. And I've redacted the name here because I didn't want to give the impression that they're not good, nor am I endorsing them. I'm also not a lawyer, so don't consider this legal advice, and I strongly encourage you to seek outside counsel when reviewing your contracts. Okay, so to kick things off, the contract has an interesting statement saying that you are agreeing to these terms and conditions whether or not you sign the contract. Now, this one struck me as odd at first, but I think what this one is trying to capture is a situation where you or the customer forgets to sign the actual contract, but you still pay all the fees to get your products made. Let's get into the terms and conditions. Regarding costs, they want you to pay 50% upfront, or if your product is to be shipped internationally, then they want 100% payment. And the reason they're asking for 100% payment, especially for international sales, is because they know that you will probably have issues getting product into the target country, and they don't want any of that to hinder them from getting paid. You'll also see that there are additional costs tied to artwork, label, materials, and shipping, and you need to pay all of this before your product actually gets shipped or picked up. Then there's this statement here that says payment is not contingent upon label completion or application to the product. Now, this last statement means that they actually consider unlabeled packaged product as finished, and you owe them payment at this point. And they don't really care if the labels are late, they're still on the way, they're here tomorrow, right? What they're saying is that if it's off the production line and it was tested, assuming that they even test at all, then you owe them money. Speaking of labels, the next section of the contract talks about this. And if you want to get your own label designer, then you're going to have to get them print-ready digital artwork within 3 weeks after the supplier gets you the supplement fax panel. Now, if you don't get your label in on time, your product will be pulled off the production schedule, resulting in delays to your business, and the supplier may just proceed to invoice you for the full amount of the product, plus any additional charges associated with the delay in getting them digital artwork files. So what's important for you to note here is that you have a 3-week window to work with them, which really isn't a lot of time. And if I were you, I would design your label way before the 3 weeks so that all you need to do is just slap on that supplement fax panel to your label. The supplier is putting the burden on you to provide labels, and all they're responsible for is just the supplement fax panel and the die line. Now, what about the scenario where you have your own designer and your own printer? Well, you can certainly send them the physical labels to put on your bottles, but you'll have 5 weeks after they provide you with the supplement fax table. And if you're late, they're going to charge you an additional $1,000 processing fee in addition to any of the charges I mentioned earlier. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to sign up to our email list and get more content like this, as well as industry alerts, link down below. The next section captures the situation where maybe you've discovered the next game-changing superfood ingredient and you want the supplier to use that material that you've brought into the country. The contract allows for 2 scenarios. Number 1, that you are agreeing that the supplier doesn't test the ingredient and you're relying on the ingredient supplier's test results reported on their certificate of analysis. Or 2, you are agreeing that the supplier tests the ingredients prior to production and that you're going to pay for all the costs. I lean towards testing of the incoming ingredients because there could be something wrong that happened during transport or at the manufacture of the ingredient. And you want to be able to capture that right away before you start production, before you waste money on finished product testing, before you waste more bottles and packaging components and packaging materials, which, by the way, you're paying for all of that. All right, let's move on. What's interesting here is that the supplier is taking a stand on labeling of the supplement facts panel. No other changes are permitted, and if you want to change the label, then they're saying you can label it elsewhere. This one I don't agree with. I think there are multiple ways to label an ingredient and still be compliant. I think what they're trying to do is they're assuming that you don't have regulatory expertise. But if you do bring in your own regulatory expert, then I think there should be some flexibility in this clause. Really quickly, I want to talk about best before dating. And if you want a best before date, you will need to conduct a stability study. Otherwise, if you don't want to indicate a best before date, the supplier will indicate a manufacturing date instead. Now, having a best before date is really up to you. You're not required technically to have a best before date on your product, although if you are selling into any specific retailers or online channels, they may require one, so it's something you'll want to look into. And if you do end up needing a best by date, you'll want to conduct a stability testing study, and they're not cheap, and it needs to be scientifically designed by someone who actually knows how to design these protocols, which is going to add to your testing costs. Now, I really want to jump down to the last clause here in the contract, and this is the legal jargon that says if you get sued by someone for making modifications to the product, making misleading claims on the label or on your website, or from any product defect, that you will hold the supplier harmless and indemnify them. Plus, you'll pay for all attorney fees. And that's a lot of risk and burden to shoulder. And you can see how and why the contract is written the way it is to essentially offload as much of the compliance risk as possible onto you and keep it off of them. It's a lot for you to take on, and so you have to protect yourself. And there are two ways to do that. One is to get yourself a regulatory compliance expert like myself, where together we can walk through the risks of your operation. We can negotiate these types of contracts. And the other thing you must do to protect your business is to get insurance. And we talk more about liability insurance in this video here, where we go through how much coverage is enough, what could void your insurance, and much more. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. I will talk to you later. Cheers.